And we're live. Hey, it's Spencer Forman, and I'm here with Syed Balkhi. Good morning, Syed.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Just for anybody who hasn't seen this before, this is a follow-up recording from a private conversation we had where Syed was gracious enough to take me up on my public challenge to have a conversation about some stuff. Because having been in WordPress, I think both of us since the very beginning, Syed is, I want to give you credit where credit's due. You are one of the more remarkable characters in our community for your success and your determination. And certainly that demonstrates itself both in the number of companies and people you've been involved with, but also your financial success. And I think we were just discussing, the reason I want to have this call is, you can see this gray here, right? Like I'm I feel like I'm in a position of being like an elder statesman in WordPress who says, can't we all just get along and have a conversation about stuff that many people are feeling a sense of awareness or frustration about? And so we had the chance to talk about this privately. Today is not going to be a bunch of, softball questions, but we're going to talk about a few of the topics that I outlined for brevity. You do have a hard stop, so I'm respecting that, but we're going to try to pack a lot in. After this introduction, I'm going to try not to ask these soapbox questions with 15-minute introductions. Okay. So having said that, good morning.
Good morning. It's really cool. Both of us have been doing it for a long time. I've spent more half of my life in WordPress, coming up on 17. I started when I was 16. I'm 33 now. Don't have as many grays as you, but I do have some now.
I accidentally said, when I was speaking to Matt Mullenweg, I said, I think I'm as old as your parents. And he goes, you're 80? And I said, well, okay, maybe not that old. In any event, okay. So let's just jump in because time is short. I'm going to come out of the box strong and say the number one thing that people have been discussing, and there's always going to be fans, there's always going to be haters and trolls, is Awesomotive is your primary, I'm going to call it your primary company. I know there's all the companies you purchase through your venture capital endeavors and so forth. But when you think of Awesomotive, it's a very divisive comment. In fact, you have your own parody on Twitter. And my premise for this whole conversation was, how does a guy who's been as successful as you, has a beautiful family, seems to be beloved by a segment of the population, have so many critics? I was going to use the word haters, but like people that are critics. And I suggested to you that the reason is because the actions of your company are not lining up with the actions of the person that you're putting forward in public. And I, as a human being, feel like that's the most important thing for all of us. Why can't you reconcile your personal ethos with what the company is doing?
One, many people have parodies. Elon Musk have a parody account, so I guess we're sort of joining.
It's a badge of honor,
maybe. With AM and personally, my priority is always our customers and our team. Okay, and we built WP Beginner. I started as a blogger. I still consider myself as a blogger, and I have opinions, just like everybody else have opinions. And we try to do the right thing for our customers and our team above everything else. And that's kind of the result is in front of everyone, right? I think our customers are smart enough. If we were doing something wrong or if we didn't have the best product, people would vote with their dollars. And I think it would be naive or probably a little foolish to think otherwise, that the customers are just so gullible that they will buy not the best product. And I think we have the best products in the market.
Do you think, hold on, let me pause you on that though. Do you think that the criticism's coming from your customers, or it's coming from everybody else who's creating products or services in the WordPress ecosystem? Because I'm going to challenge you and say, I think it's the latter, not the former.
Yeah, I think the criticism is coming from a small group of individuals that are also product owners in WordPress. Some competitors, actually. It's often stirred up by people who are current competitor, who used to be ex-competitors, who did not like the fact that we won, or we are winning, or we're creating a better product, and we're forcing other people to innovate. And I think that's the gist of it from my perspective.
Okay, let's break it down, because I don't agree with you on this. All right. You said two things just now. You said small group of people who are competitors. And I want to challenge you on this. And I respectfully disagree. I mean, we're having a debate here, so it's not like you're wrong and I'm right. It's just, I think that's where some of these conversations about your perception versus the reality we don't agree with. For number one purposes, let's say that in the WordPress.org space, there's people who make software, there's people who do, let's say, hosting and other kind of integrations, and then there's people who are in the space of using this stuff, but finding it difficult because they're, let's say, agencies or intermediaries, and your stuff is like blowing up a can of spray paint on the billboard every time. Even though they want to love your product, sometimes the perception is the stuff gets all over the place. Okay, so I've broken it down in some categories. Notifications, plugin redirections when you activate your stuff, marketing within tabs of your own stuff, SEO cross-promotion and product claims that have nothing to do with the product somebody got, but it's another one of your products. The infamous seed prod is the #1 page builder in the WordPress
It is.
Again, that's why I want to clear the air, but like inquiring minds may differ.
Yeah.
Cross-promotion of unrelated plugins. I got your WP search and I ended up getting promoted something that had nothing to do with search. And then kind of esoteric, but I want to throw it in the pile. The dark patterns, which you and I had a very clever conversation about how Amazon does it. The 9-step cancellation process versus just press a button and cancel. So like those are the criticisms that people talk about. Address how you feel that's only limited to people who are competitors or whatever versus people who are objectively like, nobody else in WordPress can do this kind of stuff without getting a slap.
I think a lot of people in WordPress do that kind of stuff. Actually, there are many examples. I just don't post them publicly because that will bring in negative attention to the ecosystem. But I would challenge you. There are over 25 million websites using our software, right?
Yeah.
And the impact that we're making in our customers' business, their lives, and indirectly in their communities is far bigger part of my legacy than, the opinion of a select few, maybe 100 or 200 that are maybe envious or, our competitors. And that's really where, we differ, because I think our impact is that 25 million and growing websites that are using our software. I want to address the notifications and the marketing and SEO cross promotions, because I don't see that we do anything that's different than any other company. As a matter of fact, we're doing a more disciplined and better job at it. So let's talk with notifications. Now, I've been in WordPress for a long time. You've been in WordPress for a very long time. We made mistakes in the earlier days before any other plugin made those mistakes. We had a dashboard notification with a promotion. I think this was I don't know, you probably remember the time when Yoast had a big Black Friday promotion. You remember that when Yoast got
Yoast gets a special award for having been the first and frequent violator, but now since they're retired, I like to suggest.
Listen, we did it before Yoast. I brought this up because we did it a year before Yoast did it, and we put it out. And I remember I got a message from .org, hey, you can't do this. Don't do this. We stopped immediately. We pushed out a release, undid our dashboard promotion notification. And since then, we have really been, I would say, a model citizen in terms of dashboard notifications. When you look at companies like other ones like Rank Math or Updraft Plus or Smosh, where they're stuffing the dashboard with all sorts of colors and massive sale notifications and email opt-ins and all sorts of things. There's this giant banner that promotes 6 plugins by one plugin provider. From our point of view at AM, our notifications are contextual and always inside our own plugin screens with very few exceptions. We're following the best practices that are laid forward by WooCommerce. We have shifted all of our marketing and promotional notices inside our own notification inbox that's on our plugin screens only. The notification that shows up on the main dashboard are the one where we ask for a review because we want to gather user feedback. And 2, if somebody's connection breaks, like very, very mission critical notices. If you're using Monster Insights and the connection between your site and Google Analytics broke, that's a notification that should show up on the dashboard. If you were using Instagram feed and your connection broke to Facebook, those are the mission critical notifications that should be on the dashboard. All other notifications on the WordPress dashboard should be removed. And I am in favor of having better guidelines, and I've chatted with the .org team about that, because I see that we tend to attract unfair level of criticism while
Right.
there are far worse offenders of these. And if I have a bad day on Twitter and start going after every single person, right, responding, oh, check out this and check out this, all what
Mhm.
that does is bring negativity to the WordPress, and we all win when WordPress win, and we're committed to doing that. So
Let-
I believe I believe we need better guidelines, more clear guidelines around dashboard notifications, because I see a lot of other plugins abusing the dashboard notifications. I also think we need to take a step ahead and make guidelines for pointers, because once the dashboard notifications are taken away, pointers will be the next to be abused. And I'm already seeing, other plugins in the industry abusing the pointers, right? So I'm in
Including
favor of all this.
redirection away.
What
Like, in
happened?
other words, I didn't want to interrupt you on that point, but pointers meaning like when you initiate or activate a plugin, enable it, it takes
Right.
you away to a whole nother screen, which is
N-
completely disorienting to the user experience.
No, not that, not that. Pointers are things that show up on the dashboard next to individual
Oh,
menu
right.
items, and it's
To-
next and next
It's
and
like
next and next. There's
tooltip.
like, yeah, tooltips. These are official terms. Are pointers because of the API for that in WordPress. And like, you can be stuck on the pointer inception, and you can't dismiss that thing until you go 8 clicks, or 12 clicks in. And I'm already seeing plugins doing that. And
We
I
see
think we
WooCommerce
need.
doing that with their onboarding now, where they're, after much ado, in the upper right corner, there was a very, very grayed out little skip this setup step. But that's a good point as well. I want to take that one point because I don't want to lose this on the
Yeah.
notifications and your suggestion. Let me reframe what you just said and align it with what I'm suggesting is the complaint. Would you agree that the problem is that the community itself needs a rethinking of how notifications and redirections and tooltips and pointing, all of these mechanics need to be rethought for the modern world we're in? Because currently the problem you're expressing is everybody's doing it, everybody's competing for it, and if we do it, we get more unfair attention, but everybody else is probably a worse offender. They just
We're
don't
not
have the
even
light.
doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Like,
you have your own
no,
version of it, but like you would admit that the way things are is still subject to criticism, because if you're
for
subject to
sure.
criticism, that means there's a pain, there's a problem.
Yeah,
It's
I think our review CTA got, was posted on some screenshot, and very unlikely that somebody have all those plugins and have all the notifications show up at the same time. But again, it did, and the screenshot is out there.
the infamous
And we and
wall of
right,
notifications
right,
from
and we took
from you.
that feedback. All of our plugins are rolling out and update. I think we're on 4 to 5 week release cycles, and that will be addressed, right? So we are always listening to the user feedback. In terms of plugin redirections on activation, I think that's a necessary step. We do need that, because Spencer, think about it.
Mandatory or optional? For, let's say, hold on, here's the scenario.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a professional who's
yeah,
used your plugins 8 billion times. And for
right.
every single client, I'm stuck for every single plugin like yours, including WooCommerce.
Yeah.
Now I have to go through this trap, like
You don't. You can
navigating
X
the
out.
forest.
You can X out. In every awesome motive wizard, you can take a look at it. There's an X button very clearly, visible right there. You
I'm
can X out of it.
suggesting as a conversation for now, would a
Right. Yeah.
world where the process itself objectively for any plugins was a professional has a global opt-out, so I don't need to see your redirection because I already know your plugin like the back of my hand.
Right. But I think
Why
when
do
we're
you object
designing
to that? Why does that cause you to make that face? What's the
because
problem, Syed? Why does that cause you to get upset? Like, I
because
love your plugin. I use it on 1,000 clients. Why do I need to be subject to you
eh,
forcing me how to do my
no.
workflow?
First of all,
That's the
Spencer.
problem.
First of all,
No,
I
mean, yeah,
appreciate
tongue in cheek.
I appreciate you. I appreciate every single developer and agency owner that's using our product. But we are designing our products for the average consumer. Okay. And we need to think about WordPress being designed for an average consumer. So when when you think about it, okay, yes, an individual agency activates 1,000 sites maybe over a course of a year. How many thousands of sites are being activated by individual DIYers? And that's why we have the wizard that shows up. But as an agency owner, one click, you can X out of it. Now, there's
Times
no easy
22
way.
plugins.
Right, but you're going to set up 22 plugins, not all at once. You'll set them up one at a time, and you're going to need to have the configuration set up. Like, you're not going to set up all in one SEO and just install it and never touch the settings. You're going to have to touch the settings anyways.
Let me give you a scenario that we can talk on, because I think this is actually an interesting, and you know,
Okay.
I'm slightly tongue in cheek and I'm giving you a hard time, but I think this is really at the meat of the problem. Okay, here's the scenario. You yourself just identified. God bless you guys for thinking of all of the rest of us and what the average consumer is. But guess what? I don't think that's true. That's the problem, is there is no average WordPress user. You and I had an interesting point in our previous, previous conversation. We talked about, why is Wix or Weebly or Squarespace or ClickFunnels, why are they a great experience? It's because as a platform, they don't presume anything, and the person who uses it at the pro level, the beginner level, whatever, can make a decision. What I'm saying is the problem in WordPress seems to be now that with 70,000 something vendors making choices all on their own of what the user is, including you, there's mistakes made. So, for example, let's presume that there are a significant set of people who are familiar with your products and other people's products. The suggested dashboard experience would be, wouldn't it be more interesting, for example, if we could decide, I'm a pro, I'm familiar. Don't show me any of these notifications. Don't show me any of these onboarding things. Don't show me any. Why? Because then I can just get on with my work and be done with it. And if everybody had the same system, then it would be objectively fair, because where I hear in your argument is more of a, well, we need it for our reasons, and that we're smarter than the person using it.
Not. No. I think what I'm saying is that we're making the decisions for 95% of the users, and you're asking to make rules for the 5% of the exceptions.
No, I'm not. I'm saying everything else in WordPress has an off switch. Why can't you put an off switch?
We have an off switch. We do have an off switch.
Not an opt out, but an off switch.
We do have an off switch, Spencer. We do have an off switch. It's a function. It's a filter. If you're a smart enough developer,
out of the box with the products.
Listen, the way WordPress plugins work, you cannot, you have to activate the plugin. Onboarding triggers on activation. Now, if you open a functions.php file and add that these are my favorite plugins, like all-in-one SEO, I want to disable the all-in-one SEO wizard. There's a function for that. You add it in the theme that you're building. So when all-in-one SEO activates, or when Monster Insights activate, or any of the other plugins that activate where you don't want to see the onboarding wizard, that exist.
Okay, but first of all, just to clarify for those who may be less geeky and technical, because you and I can talk just for a moment.
Right.
I do know enough about development to understand that. And that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to have this call with you in the beginning, because what I said publicly on Twitter was, I used my Tony Soprano, but hey, it'd be a real shame if Spence had to come out with a global filter to deactivate all of Automotive's products, because, that's the problem, isn't it? I'm saying you have just doubled down on, we know better for 95% of the users. And I'm saying, I don't think you do. And I'm saying, as a matter of professional respect and a marketplace idea, not just applicable to you, by the way, this applies to WooCommerce and everybody else.
Sure.
We need a system that respects the global wishes of the user type, so that Spence and anybody like Spence does not have to go creating his own custom filters or plugins for every single client, because that's like a car, the kind of new cars with the computers that says, I know better. We won't let you use the rear windows when you're going 35 miles an hour because 95% of our customers don't like windy noises. It's like, I bought the gosh darn car. Let me use the car.
I think
that's what I'm talking about.
Look, I am always open to ideas that make the user flow and workflow better. So if there is an API, if there's a singular API that every plugin abides by, that says, okay, if a developer and any agency can say, is agency, right? Or is agency customer, and agency, when they're setting up the website, sets that up, identifies that parameter, and all plugin respects that, we will of course respect that.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Spencer, such thing does not exist.
Yeah, but that's the conversation we're having. So let's take away from this moment of the problem issues. Let's talk about something you brought up, which I think is terrific, because you've actually put your money where your mouth is. And there was a conversation about who is in today's ecosystem approaching 50%, the best party to be in charge of creating these APIs or the functions, and also who should be the gatekeepers or the people that make decisions about policing ourselves. And my preposition was, it would be better for those of us in the ecosystem to do it so that WordPress.com, Aubrey, automatic, whatever that all involves, is out of it, and that instead of volunteerism, we actually have people who are professionally and financially aligned with bettering the thing. So for example, people who are paid directly or otherwise to make these features, but that all of us agree as an ecosystem on the .org to use them. Because I do agree with your one premise. If everybody had a stop sign and we all stopped it, dogs and children wouldn't be in danger of getting run over. Whereas right now it's just, hey man, I got to do it because they're doing it. What do you think of that idea of furthering the idea of creating things for ourselves instead of hoping it trickles down or crosses the bridge of .com over to .org, where they're Five for the Future and these volunteerism things that create a lot of pressure on individuals who are just there trying to help out, but really would be better if they were being paid and accountable?
I think that Matt and Automatic receive a lot of unfair criticism. And while nobody is perfect, over the last 17 years of me being in WordPress, I truly believe that without Matt's vision and leadership, WordPress would not be where it is today. Without Automatic, WordPress would not be where it is today. And it's easy to point fingers and criticize. And I did too at one point when I was an individual blogger, and I would also partake in such conversations. But I simply, as we have grown and as I have wisened up a little bit and have few grays in my beard now, even, right? I simply don't see any other company spending the amount of resources that Matt has continued to invest in WordPress, even though there are those who make far more money, including some of the bigger hosting companies. And if you look at the latest like WordPress releases, WordPress is created by the community. Automatic might have like whatever 80 or so contributors on it, but out of 600. Right?
But do you feel that needs to be I agree with what you said. And when Matt and I spoke, we wouldn't have gotten here without Matt, of course. But I'm saying, Machiavellian question. Is it like benevolent dictatorship that just lets things roll what we need? Or do we need to sort of take a little bit of control ourselves, because this spray painting the bridge problem is creating unnecessary friction or limitations or problems?
I think, human nature, the way it is that someone will always be accused of being a gatekeeper, whether it's a volunteer or elected. And I don't think that a elected or paid idea is good. I think WordPress thrives because of volunteers. I do believe that, the decisions that Matt and now Josefa are making are the right decisions. They're very approachable, both in person and online. The make sites are publicly available for anybody and everybody to contribute and comment. And for the amount of, if you go on a make thread, there aren't that many comments. It's free for anybody to comment. Why aren't there more comments on make? Why aren't there more people contributing to WordPress? And I think we need the volunteers, and we need more companies like Automotive and 10up and XWP and Spencer and others to sponsor contributors, right? And even if in the releases you can see that there's 10up and Yoast and XWP and Google and GoDaddy and Automotive and WP Developer and Human Made and RTCamp, and everybody's contributing to it. And that's the beauty of WordPress. WordPress allows you to make your flavor of site that you want. That freedom is one of the things that makes it beautiful. That's freedom is one of the reasons why WordPress has grown to the point. In terms of the release leads, there are different release leads on every release. It allows for more diversity in voices. I think the way it has gone, it's gone better than it would have gone if we were stuck, bickering behind closed doors, trying to make decisions by committee. I think having Matt in the role that he's in, it has been beneficial, and it is a better route to go. And I really trust his vision, because if we were making decisions by committee, block editor would not have happened. And I think block editor needed to happen. And that was a very, very, very tough decision. Very tough decision that can only be made by someone with a vision like Matt had. He saw the problem. He saw that this was something that was needed. And look, it's been a journey. The day one of WordPress was not as good as where we are 20 years from now. Day one of block editor was not as good as where block editor is now, and it's only going to get better. Sure, there are hiccups, but that level of hard decisions, the tough decisions, need to be made for the continuity of a platform.
I think that we agree on many of the things you just said, but I think it's not a black and white answer. And I don't want it to be understood as this. I feel like you answered it as if it was an either or, and I don't think it is. Because first of all, I'm a very big proponent, and I spoke about that when I did speak with Matt directly, about not doing ad hominem attacks. I mean, I don't envy Matt's position, nor have I had anything to say about how great WordPress is. I love WordPress. That's been my 24/7 obsession for 20 years, right? However, I feel like in every ecosystem, in every relationship, in every system, there has to be room for something to evolve when it outscales the original purpose. And I always use the metaphor of Matt being like Tom Sawyer sitting around and we're painting the fence and ha ha ha. But the problems of the friction caused by the things we spoke about a moment ago are amplified when there are no longer pathways that are functional. Matt himself acknowledges he can't have his hand in everybody's pot. I have said publicly, and you would acknowledge, there was a post this morning on Twitter about how incredibly difficult it is for anybody other than an expert to contribute to anything like in core on GitHub and whatever, because there's a politics, there's like, you don't know any better. There's a lot of weird nuances to it, because when it was 12 people sitting around painting a fence, that's different than 50% of the internet and all the politics. And then finally, the direction stuff. Direction of a big ship, a cruise ship, is hard. But like right now, the issue is, I think none of us can solve the problem of predicting the future, but we can decide whether, look, this ship keeps bumping into icebergs, people are jumping off, there's murder and mayhem going on. Like, we need to fix what's happening on the boat, because it's not the love boat all the time, and it could be better. So let's just use that term. Somewhere between black and white is gray. And I think we're making some progress on the conversation, because without disrupting the entire organization, there was many public instances of, let's say, moderators recently, inexperienced or experiencing, getting themselves or finding themselves stuck in a wedge between two worlds they never wanted to be in, and not even getting paid for it. Likewise, there's lots of community politics that come out in a very water cooler, snarky way that could be moderated in a better way if it was just a process of public committee, but not a committee like we've had. The committee of like, hey, high school yearbook committee is not the thing WordPress needs, but that's kind of what we've got, because there's a lot of gray area right now of who gets put into what position of power, and why is it that there's 1,700 things waiting in a queue to be approved when there's millions, or billions in your case, of dollars involved that could be spent on it. If the corporations have a financial incentive, or the individual people, if we have a financial incentive in streamlining that process, what's wrong with that? Why shouldn't it be? Or maybe you agree it should be.
We can always do better, and we have gotten better. And I was at the very first WordPress community summit in Tybee Island, and I've been part of this community. I grew up in this community, and I've seen how much better we have gotten. And anytime you have people involved, there will be opinions, there will be feelings, and someone's feeling may get hurt a time or two. But we need to focus on the common mission, which is for WordPress, democratizing publishing, and a larger part democratizing commerce and the larger web. And WordPress has done a really, really good job at that. In terms of like, why are there tickets that are sitting for 10 plus years? Like, if you go on track, there are tickets that are sitting for or longer than that. And there are more nuances involved, Spencer, than that most will see. I'll give you an example of a ticket.
I mean, by the way, approval of things, not track tickets, but like approval of things.
Yes. I like, yes, no. Oh, you're talking about approval of plugins theme. There's like, are you talking?
I'm talking about the 1,700. I was referring not to track tickets. I was talking about like, there's at 1,700 plugins or themes or whatever the number is. It's a significant number, and there's like one or two people that are the pinch point, and everybody's like, why is it taking so long?
I think that I last I checked, there was like 800 or so plugins in the queue, and then a 75-day wait time. And I think that is a long wait time. And if you look on the Make site, there is a post that I believe Felipe Santos from the plugins team have put out that is calling for more volunteers to join the plugins team, right? To help review. And I did a tweet. I did a tweet on Friday, right? I did a tweet on Friday and said, hey, I'm willing to sponsor, because look, it impacts everyone, right? It impacts everyone who has a new plugin in the queue. And plugins are the lifeblood of WordPress, I would say, because a lot of times WordPress grows because of the extension ecosystem. It's the ecosystem that we have all created together. And, it impacts everybody. Just I have a plugin in the queue that's going to be approved, I don't know when, 70 days, right? We submitted a new free plugin.
But that's a good point. Like, just use that one point. 870 days. Like, that's
a long time.
That's a significant bottleneck to the community's benefit, isn't it? That those things can't.
Because we have to train. No, I agree, 100% agree. But like, how do we train someone as fast? Like,
you pay them money from the people who are profiting. That's how.
Of course. So here, let me tell you what happened as a result of my tweet, right? Which I appreciate you liking, and I think you retweeted it too, right? So one of the contributors reached out and said, hey, I am currently volunteering only 5 hours because I have to do my other job, right? Because I have my day job, I have to make a living. And I said, okay, how about this? How about I and Automotive contribute to increase your hours, and you have a paid, guaranteed contract to up your hours for a whole year. So you're not worrying about client work to sustain your life and this, right? That tweet. So now she's able to do that. That just happened from a tweet on Friday. We hired another full-time person, signed contract and everything from Friday till now. So and that person is also going to be spending 100% of their time on core, including plugins team as well as other areas of core, and another one on the way. So I think that just shows you an example, but we need more volunteers. Like, it's not going to be one company like Automatic or Automotive or that will be able to do it. WordPress is a very, very large project, and it is anybody can volunteer.
Your answer is an enigma to me, because like, you had me at hello, you worked me all the way to the end, and then at the end you flipped from
I didn't.
You gave the perfect example in the real world, which I'm high-fiving you here and in public on Twitter about. Like, we took action. Somebody said, if only I had a way to supplement my livelihood or replace my livelihood, I could spend my time working on fixing the bottleneck of WordPress. And then at the very end, you use the word volunteer. And I'm simply saying that, let me just say, the whole problem that I see it is, you've got an ecosystem like a queue to go through the TSA at the airport, okay? You've got millions of people who are qualified who would be thrilled to take money to help with making the line move faster so all the business people can just get through and get on with their business. And I'm suggesting it's not difficult, without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, to say, what if all the people who make money tithing or contribute or pay homage, something that allows for, instead of volunteerism or for Five for the Future, it's specifically these people are hired to be in the process of approving stuff, and that's it. Like,
I think WordPress.
Why is that such a difficult concept? Or maybe
it's not a difficult concept, but like, I don't believe people are volunteering to donate the money either. Right?
I think people would be thrilled to be paid to do this full time instead of being asked to volunteer. And by the way, I want to bring something back to what Matt said, because I found it surprising, and you have your own version of this because clashes of titans. But Matt seemed to have a real thorn in his side for the success of, let's say, some of the hosting companies, because he recommended to me how much money they made, what the revenue was, and he said the reason for a lot of their success, I don't want to misquote him, was based upon how much money they spent on marketing. And I said, I think that's not necessarily the full answer. I think they're really good at understanding what the customers want and delivering it. So back to you, because you had your own criticisms of other bigger competitors and stuff. I'm saying, rather than us debating this unclarity, if we put WordPress.com and all of Matt's stuff on the core over here, but the rest of us who are in the business had some direct way of getting credit, like you have been doing. Look, Awesome Modem spent $10 million hiring people. That's better than this esoteric 5 for the future or put the money in a pot and hope that somebody ends up volunteering, because that's where the gray areas come in. None of us are benefiting from that directly. I mean, indirectly maybe, but not directly anymore.
It's not. I think we're talking about one and the same thing, and I don't really think that WordPress.com and .org has to be separate. I think it benefits greatly for everything that Matt is doing and Automatic has been doing to push WordPress forward. And 5 for the future and volunteerism and paying contributors is 5 for the future is the idea that companies in WordPress pay or sponsor their team members to contribute to WordPress. That's what 5 for the future is about.
But there's no way. There seems to be friction about measuring what that means, because his criticisms in public have been, "Hey, GoDaddy, hey, whomever, you're not contributing enough based upon what you take from WordPress." Right. And I'm saying the reason is because it's like the IRS in a weird way. Like, all these rules that everybody who's good or bad at having an accountant gets different results. The waitress or waiter pays 52% of their income and Amazon pays 0%. And people are like, what the heck's going on here? There's no direct path to this company hired all these people and paid their salaries. Ironically, maybe that would be some kind of a direct answer, because then everybody benefits from there's no longer 800 tickets. Syed flipped the bill. He took care of it. And everybody loves him because now I can get my little plugin in faster and start making money myself. No,
we've always had contributors. J-Trip, John James Jacoby, contributor for BuddyPress, is full-time sponsored contributor by Automotive. Chris Christoph, Robert Rowley, Nidhi Jain, and so on. I think that AAM, we don't do a good enough job of promoting these efforts, because to me the perception of doing good is irrelevant. What's important is the actual action of doing good, and we do a good job at that, of making that impact, whether it's directly on core, whether it's on our Facebook group with 96,000 members, where we're providing free support to them, where we're paying contributors there. And I don't think that I don't need a medal for that. I don't think none of us should say, "Give me a medal for this contribution."
It's not a medal. It's like why people put their name on buildings. I was at UCLA with my son a couple years ago, and every building is gorgeous and has the name of some wealthy benefactor. Now, every single stadium in the United States has the name of a corporation or a person on. Syed, you're living in the real world, and you're one of the most prolific entrepreneurs in our community. Please don't challenge anybody's sense of what you're talking about here, because you're now going into like, come on. We know that you make a lot of money and you do good, but the cost of that is what we're talking about. The perception of you sitting in your swimming pool of cash is offset by what you can do publicly. And if there is something like Syed can build a bridge or a football stadium and directly have his name on it, that will help to remind people, oh, I remember that brand for what they did. Not because you decided 95% of us should be redirected around the screen in a certain way because you think you know better. That's really the issue, isn't it? Like,
I think WordPress is bigger than any one person or any one company, and WordPress will live on hopefully far longer than any one contributor, and it has, right? There's been so many contributors that have come and gone and have made amazing contributions. I was great friends with them. I grew up with these friends, and I still stay in touch with them, and they're no longer in WordPress. But that doesn't mean their contributions have gone away. And I think what's important, instead of like trying to say, hey, this bridge is sponsored by, I'm not really a big fan of academic world doing that.
You don't have to do it. I'm just saying that would be.
I'm just saying, what I know is that we're aligned on a single goal, and we all need to be aligned on a single goal, which is to help grow WordPress market share and spread the WordPress mission. And there's tons and tons of people that are doing amazing work. And it's not just around code side. Every single person who's in the Polyglots team and helping translate WordPress is doing a great service. That's an amazing thing to make WordPress accessible in other countries and WordPress in other languages. I think now global WordPress usage and non-English WordPress usage, I should say, is higher than English WordPress usage. And that's amazing. And that's where the growth of WordPress is going to come from. So I think we need to look at, yes, there's an issue currently with the plugins team backlog, and I know this will be sorted. WordPress has solved many problems, and I have full faith in the WordPress team, the core team, the group of volunteers, sponsored contributors that are working towards making everything better. And I think when we all are aligned with that vision, staying positive, when we do that, all of us benefit. Look, there are problems in every single one of our lives, in every single one of our companies, but it doesn't make sense to just dwell on that. I think slowly and surely take one step forward and make things better. And I think we're trying to do our part. Everyone else needs to do their part. Matt has led the way and showed how how it should be done, and the onus is on the rest of us to follow the lead. And I don't know if anyone will ever kind of match and live up to what Automattic has done.
Well, again, I just want to emphasize as a premise for this whole conversation, and where I think everybody has focused their energy, I'm in love with WordPress. There, I said it.
Same.
It had me at hello in 2006 when I came over from some interesting SaaS drama that led me to be in the tech world instead of in the real estate world. And it's all worked out for the best. I love what Matt's done. I love what you've done. I love everybody that I've met for all these years. I love it. But families fight, Syed. And what I'm saying is there's a point at which you have to rethink the family organization. I have 3 kids. 2 are adults and 1 is a teenager. It's not like I can put them in the back of the car and just take them where I want to go and all the rest of this stuff. Can't set them down for a nap. So what I'm trying to suggest to you here is not anything to do with criticism of Matt or what the history is. But I think we all universally agree this family is killing it. But we're going to kill ourselves like some kind of TV sitcom if we don't sort out the rules. And you in particular I want to kind of come back around, because we discussed some of the friction points, but I want to understand how you reconcile some of your decisions, because you yourself used the word today, and I'm glad you did, envy versus objective facts. When it comes to the criticisms of you versus the exact same actions being done by some little old guy or woman or something working by themselves, it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? Elon Musk, what brand of toilet paper he uses is going to be criticized. But I think the reason for it, and this is the question, isn't that because what you do as a company, or how you perceive or say things about what your own companies do, is viewed as well, nice for him, but I don't have those advantages. I don't have the political wherewithal. I don't have the insider options. Isn't that really what it's about for a lot of people?
I don't have any inside knowledge about anything.
But you made an opinion, you think it's envy. And I'm saying There's always a touch of envy, but there's a basis of truth, because it is true that when you guys do naughty stuff, I was going to say the other S word, you get away with it. But everybody else who's an ordinary developer suddenly gets slapped in the forum or by somebody who's looking at a plugin. Not every time, of course, but for the majority of things, you get a pass, or at least objectively, there seems to be instances where you get a pass and other people don't.
No, we don't get a pass. When we do something that may go against the guideline, we immediately get an email, and we have to fix that thing. Just like everybody else, .org team is very strict, and they say you have X number of hours to fix this thing, and you need to take action immediately. And we do, and we take action immediately, and we resolve whatever the concern that is. Look, in terms of having resources, I started with almost nothing, right? My family immigrated to US.
I think that's your origin story.
And that's my origin story. Moved here as 12, youngest kid in high school, have faced discrimination along every step of the way, even being a person of color leading a tech company, right? Everything I've done is unconventional, and that does lead to some people, being envious, because how can someone who's a bootstrap entrepreneur, started with nothing, have all the odds stacked against him, accomplish everything that we've been able to do? And this leads people to make all sorts of controversies and narratives without any relevant insights, because WordPress.org does not send does not publicize the emails that they're sending in violation for other things. The only things that come out are somebody who get permanently removed, right? And that developer might write a story, but what behind the scenes people don't see is that I've been putting 14 to 16-hour days to grow the business every day since I was 16, 17 years old, instead of playing Xbox and PlayStation like other kids did. Maybe because I spent hours answering customer tickets and replying to blog comments instead of going out and partying. maybe because I partner with some of the best people in the industry, like Thomas Griffin, Jared Etchison, Chris Christoph, and all the amazing team members. Everyone says that they want more independent companies in WordPress that are bootstrapped, and we are bootstrapped, and we're independent. We're doing just that, and through our growth fund, we're investing to take minority stakes, which other companies simply don't do. Every other big company that's acquiring, they're like, we want all of your thing and you get nothing. In growth fund, I take minority stakes, so the founder retains majority equity, and then we share our strategies to help them unlock growth as well, because I believe that's our right as a human, as our responsibility as a human, to help others grow. And I think it's unfortunate, but what I've learned over the years, Spencer, is that it would be unwise to think that the opinion of a select few will define one's legacy, especially someone who just turned 33. I have long ways to go and a lot more to accomplish. But if I look at it today, with over 25 million websites using our software, the impact, that we're making in their business, in their lives, and indirectly in their community, that's going to be my legacy. The kids that are, graduating from the schools that we have built through Automotive and the Balkhi Foundation will be my legacy. The kids of whom we're providing hired scholarships through the foundation, the impact they're going to make is going to be my legacy. The millions of readers who read WP Beginner to learn and grow their careers, the impact they're making, that's going to be my legacy. And I love reading emails from readers who share the impact that we have had. Like, a guy emailed me and said, he was in high school. He learned how to build a website for his local newspaper. He got 20 grand or something like this, 15 or 20 grand, something like that. And his dad told him to use the cash and invest for his college. This got him interested in investing. And today he works at a very notable private equity company. And that's the impact of WP Beginner. That's my legacy. And there's so many stories like that. So, that's what my focus is. My priority is always going to be our readers, our customers, and our team. We collect every feedback that we can. I read those feedback and try to make the best decision that's going to satisfy 95 or 98% of our users. Now, there will be 2% or 5% for whom we're not the best fit, but you cannot have everyone as your audience. When we start and say we're going to build the most user-friendly and beginner-friendly form plugin, that will mean that we're going to not have some of the advanced features, right? And instead of trying to bloat one plugin with these clunky features that makes it harder for beginners to use, we went and partnered with Strategy 11, Formidable Forms, the team there. They have the most advanced form builder in the market. It basically, you take Gravity Forms and Gravity Views and a 6 or 7 other add-ons that you all have to buy separately. That's one in Formidable Forms, right? So we partner with Formidable Forms because we know that a portion of our audience needs that. And the other portion, so we're very, very user-focused and product-driven. And even the interview that Pippin did with Matt Medeiros on the WP Minute, that one of the reasons why entrepreneurs choose to exit to us is because we're a product-driven company. Unlike other companies, we're not folding product and say, oh, we don't need this product. Let's just take the team, put them in some bigger project and kill this thing. We keep every single product active and we innovate. Whether you look at all one SEO.
I'm going to pause here because I couldn't agree with you more on all your points. And I think the irony of all of this, I want to refer back to what you commented on about your own personal work ethic and how you got here and your origin story. It's the hero's journey. And I find it slightly ironic because I think that's the part that to me was the focus of why we're speaking of. Every hero in their journey, every public figure has this nobody working. And then at some point you transition into the public view and you evolve from the underdog into the villain. It's just it's a Rocky movie. And I'm suggesting to you that you have just stated objectively 1,000 different truisms about what your company does and how it does it. And you personally don't seem to have been caught up, and I'm not pointing fingers, in any misogynistic or public drama that other people in our community have gotten their foot stuck in. So you're as clean as a whistle. You're just a hardworking family guy, honorable in every way. I ask you, in that context, and understanding that you show a demonstrated love for the WordPress community and entrepreneurs, why is it not possible to simply pull back on what other people can objectively say are pedal to the metal marketing practices and these other issues and allow something to be coming from that objectively softens your position or softens your public perception. Because if I was in a position like yours, and I can only imagine it, I was lucky because I'm old as dust and I made my early success in millions in a world where nobody knew my name and everything else. But you're in a public eye. Okay. I don't want to be you. But if I had your position, I would say to myself, how much is it really worth it not to just like, let's dial that down from 11 down to 9 or 8, or let's put our name on paying some people to fix problems versus what you're doing, which is true. Yes, we're buying companies. Yes, we're funding entrepreneurs, but it's all being done in our own way under, our own schedule agenda versus the thing, because that's really what it's at. It's like, how much is it worth to you as an individual to stay in everybody's going to have 2% or not, a very large criticism. If you counter that with putting your corporate money where it dials that number down, it seems to me that's a solution. Do you feel that way or no?
I think we have been contributing quite a lot to WordPress. We just don't do a good enough job promoting it because that's just not the way I'm built, of like publicly going out and gloating about a thing. But if you look at TGM activation class, right? That was created by Thomas Griffin. TGM literally stands for Thomas Griffin Media. This is the most popular plugin dependency class that's used across the ecosystem. Yep. Where was that created? We've built numerous importers, free tools to help grow the WordPress ecosystem. You want to switch from Shopify to WordPress? Shopify to WooCommerce, not to EDD. Because WooCommerce is a better solution for physical products. Free importer, Weebly to WordPress, Medium to WordPress, Goes to WordPress. All of these are completely free to use. And I know many agencies and hosting companies are using it to bring customers over, and they might be charging their customers. Some of them are. But
what about the public stuff? Let's go back to the beginning, the number one in our topic outline, marketing practices. With the notifications, the redirections, the tabs. When you said earlier in our conversation, we know best for 95%. What I'm suggesting as a premise is like, if you had a more public position that took some of your profit margin and fixed problems that were not for your stuff only, that by itself would be viewed differently. Because again, in Rome, everybody was happy watching the gladiators. That was the point, wine and sport. Like, you paying money to buy independent companies and adding to the zeros at the end of your balance sheet is not making people less jealous or envious or not making people happier. You solving the 800 people line queue or creating something as being part of a larger solution for how WordPress should operate. And one last thing, dialing back. This is just soft, I get it. But dialing back and I want to throw in, because we have 8 minutes, the 9-step cancellation process, the black pattern or dark pattern. So like dialing back, yes, you know better. Yes, WP Beginner is an expert, but why does everything have to be full throttle marketing to everybody? Because that's where I think the other people feel, what I love about WordPress? It's like chilling out with my friends. And then in comes the truck of Syed's, the bullhorn and the lights and the flashing, everything. Can't you just afford to dial it down and accept that you're known as the market leader and the name on the stadium is going to get you the marketing info? Do you have to crank every last drop out of every rag, squeeze it? That's what I think I'm saying.
I think, hey, I want to address the cancellation process. One, it's a very straightforward process, complies with every legal requirement. We don't require anyone to make a phone call to cancel. We borrow the best practices. I just
want to say, so somebody who understands this, there's some complaints that instead of saying cancel your thing, it's like 9 steps. That's what we're saying when we say dark.
Yeah, sure. And we borrow these best practices from well-reputed, very successful companies like Adobe and Amazon and others. I think as a product owner, gathering your users' feedback upon cancellation is critical. I think it's your moral and ethical responsibility to your team. If you care about your team and your customers, you need to do this. Without this, you're making decisions in the dark. We use our cancellation flow as a value reminder because sometimes users are unaware of the value they're getting and cancel without even realizing that the feature they wish they had already existed. There have been way too many times where we saw, someone cancel a subscription saying that we don't have the feature they wanted, but we did. That's because when you release a
But
new
you couldn't just
feature,
flip the switch back on instead of making them go through 9 steps. Like,
No,
what if I really knew I wanted to cancel? It annoys me that I have to do 9 steps and beg you to let me out versus, okay, your point is well taken. Spence made a boo-boo and canceled. There's a marketing automation. You could say, hey, Spence, did you really want to cancel email? Oh my God,
dude,
I forgot. Thanks, Syed. Turn the lights back on.
your
But I don't
email
think that's
open
being
rates are
honest about what
your
you're doing.
email open rates are 30 to 40%. When you release a new feature, you do an announcement, you send 1 or 2 emails, 30 to 40% of your people are going to see it. That means 60% of your users don't see the new features that you've added. By showing those value reminders on the cancellation screen, it actually leads to less cancellation. My recommendation for every WordPress business owner who is here is should learn from AM and implement the similar value reminders and feedback collection in your cancellation flow, because we owe this to our customers and we owe this to our team members. Reducing churn is critical for a healthy business. And I don't believe that what we're doing is something wrong. Actually, we're doing the right thing. And other people who are making decisions in the dark, who just have not looked at the data, I encourage them to try it instead of criticizing this. Look, I will say I'm not going to optimize the business for Spencer. I'm going to optimize the business.
You don't have to do anything for me.
Yeah, of course. My priority is going to be our team and our customers. Always, always, always.
But let's balance that out, because that's interesting. And I like the fact that you're putting on the gloves in a nice way. First of all, in Machiavelli or in Marie Antoinette or Julius Caesar,
I don't get any pop culture references, by the way.
Well, the point is, you can do whatever you want when you have enough power and control to the unwashed masses until they decide they've had enough. And then there's a certain form of rebellion that ends in tragedy, typically for the party that didn't recognize there's a line in the sand somewhere. And what I'm saying to you is tongue in cheek, because that's why I want these conversations. I love this community. I don't want mommy and daddy fighting. So I don't want to have to be in public holding the flag of like, come on, let's charge the castle, or let's, murder Julius Caesar. Okay. I'm saying these are things that you and I don't agree on, like the cancellation process. There's nothing you've just said that changes my mind. In fact, just the opposite, because now what I'm saying is, what you're saying is, you know better for me. 20 years in WordPress, and I have a client and they say, I'm using this product of Syed's, and they have to go through the begging and pleading for 9 steps because Syed knows better than just saying, you know what? Syed might lose a few bucks, but chances are good that if the person knows cancel means cancel, that's like in my normal relationships. If Syed said, Spence, I'm hanging up the phone, I don't make it 9 steps for you to hang up the phone. You just say bye-bye, and then maybe I'll send you an apology note saying, Syed, come on back. That's the world that I'm talking about wanting to live in WordPress. And the community that you emphasize, let's just be fair about this. That's being fair. 2 people at the same level of finances and politics and connections and success don't do things where one of them decides for the other one what should be done because they know better. And if you really honestly honor the open source thing, there could be an option. I give you the fact, maybe the default behavior should be 9 steps, but there should be a professional option we all can use that says, hey, the pro version doesn't force my clients to have to beg and plead and ask me, what's wrong with this plugin you installed that makes me go through this process?
You can easily do that. Send an email, right? You send an email, and just like when somebody, give you a call, you send an email. I want to cancel my account.
I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'll send you an email that says I don't want to talk to you anymore. So,
no, literally, you write to support. This is exactly what your customer does, right? When they want to cancel with you.
My customers have cancel, that's it. And then I ask them, hey, by the way, would you like to still talk to me? That's what I'm saying it should be. That's how a relationship normally works. Because when people see a product that they give you their hard-earned money for, and they say, hey, it didn't work out, and you offer a refund, you shouldn't make it harder to get their money back than it was to agree to the relationship.
It's very easy to cancel. You write a support email to us and say you want to cancel. It canceled. If you go through the self-serve space, we are going to try to get you to give us some feedback. We're going to ask for your feedback along the way. And I think that every WordPress product owner should do that. I think we are naive if we think that customers don't know better. Customers all around the world vote with their dollars. If our products weren't the best in the market, people wouldn't be using them. The beauty of WordPress and open source is that there are a lot of choices and options, and That is why there are many, many plugins have tens of thousands to millions of installs that are not owned by Automotive or Automatic. And I think no single company will ever have a monopoly. In my 17 years or so in WordPress, I know that the best product will win. The best product with the most innovation will win. And we're going to continue to innovate and share what we know. And of course, we're doing a lot of the internal things that we're doing are coming out inside Easy Digital Downloads. So if you see, how to better handle licensing, how to in a scalable way, how to deliver add-ons, and all those, we're making those things public and accessible to everyone.
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time. First of all, thank you for the clarification. And so anybody who comes in, that's the most drama we had in this conversation, but it was fun. I think that's representative of the benefit of this community. And I'm going to wrap up because I know you got to run. We can have this open dialogue. We can professionally agree to disagree, but we don't have to go at each other with knives and bullets and stuff like that. And I think that's where the problem is. By not being transparent, by not having these dialogues, the pressure builds. The little person doesn't understand. They can't imagine what you're going through. Now you, in this method, have a way to describe it. Fair is fair. And you agree. I don't think you'd argue that the counterbalance could be myself or anybody can do whatever we want to balance out your naughtiness if you're just not agreeing. But we'd rather work together, which is the purpose of it. Okay.
I do have a hard stop, but I want to say I'm fully accessible. Anybody can DM me on Twitter. I'm in WordPress.org Slack. You can very, very accessible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope this leads to some dialogue. Talk to you again.
Take care.
See you.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.